Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Tony Cardenas, and this is the Indianapolis Real Estate Weekly Update. I'm sitting here today with guests from FC Tucker, Kyle Morris, Shelly Walters with EXP Realty, and Justin Griffith with Keller Williams. And we're going to touch on what's going on in Hamilton County, our cities in Hamilton County, and then we're going to move down to Indianapolis. Let's see how quick homes are selling and what interest rates are doing in the market. Good afternoon, Kyle, Shelly, and Justin. How's it going, Kyle?
Hey, how's everybody going? Just enjoying a balmy Indianapolis March.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, it'll be soon, I hope.
Thanks for having me, Tony.
I'm glad you're on the show. Justin, Shelly, let's go over the updates in Carmel.
All right. So in Carmel, we had 39 homes listed in the past 7 days. 29 have already sold. So we have 10 currently active that hit the market. In Westfield, we had there were 36 that were listed, and 20 of those have already sold. So everything obviously selling very quickly, as we know. And in Zionsville, there were 16 that were listed. 12 of those have already sold. And then in Broad Ripple, there was one that was active and that has actually already sold. And Kyle, that was yours.
Kyle,
congratulations.
It was not my personal home.
All right, Kyle. Hey,
So
Kyle.
that's just crazy, though, just to say, since January 1st, Zionsville's only sold 88 homes and Broad Ripple's only sold 37 homes compared to Carmel's 254 and Westfield's 267. So not a lot of action in Zionsville and Broad Ripple, really.
Oh, yeah, but we got to move over to the other side of Hamilton County. How we doing, Kyle, in Noblesville and Fishers?
So in Noblesville last week, 30 went on the market. 22 of them already pended. 8 are still active. The price point was basically between $120,000 and $1.3 million. And then in Fishers, we had 38 go on the market, but 30 of those have pended in the last week. And so 8 are still active as well, just the same as Noblesville. And the price point there was $200,000 to $837,000.
Wow, that's just crazy how fast this stuff is selling off the shelves.
Oh, my
it really
goodness.
is.
It make your head spin.
I mean, Shelly and you guys, how much over list are these houses going for? I mean, I know it's subject to where the location and everything is, but what's going on with it?
I try to tell my buyers to plan on 10 to 15% over list.
Mm-hmm. I've seen as high as 20 easy.
Percent.
Yeah, percent over
Yes.
list price.
Yes.
Right.
And then a lot of it guaranteed as
Yep.
well.
Right.
Wow. Well, we're going to talk about the guarantee
Yep.
and all that stuff in
Yep.
just a minute. But I want to jump down to the downtown market in Indianapolis with Justin. Justin, can we start off with Fountain Square?
Yeah, I broke it down into several different areas. For Fountain Square, this currently we have 23 active listings, 6 of which are new in the last 7 days, and 4 of those are pending. Average price about $356,000.
That's really on the kind of the low side of the fence, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just there's some rehabs that have sold in the area that does bring the averages down.
What about Woodruff Place?
Woodruff Place right now we have 2 listings for sale. Average price of about $596, and no recent closings in the last 7 days. This is actually on par of what last year was too.
Yeah, and what about let's jump over to Mass Avenue. But wait a minute. Let's go to Bates Hendricks.
Bates Hendricks right now we have 11 new listings in the last 7 days,
Wow.
9 of which are already pending.
Nice area.
Yep.
And then Mass Avenue. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say because where does Mass Avenue start? I mean, I know where the streets are and everything. Where does it start and end? You know, you can go back a couple streets, you go back 4 streets, and I know people that live down there say, I live on Mass Avenue. Well, you don't.
Yeah, they're just
Okay.
Mass Ave adjacent.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But on Mass Ave in the last 7 days, there's been 3 new listings. They are all pending, and this is not technically right on Mass Ave, the streets on both sides, but average price is actually $269.
Wow, that's great. And then if we touch on downtown and Lockerbie, kind of tell me what's happening in the downtown market. You're down there a lot, Justin. You know, you got a couple builds going down in that area. Tell me what's happening.
Correct. Yeah, we are doing some custom container builds downtown. Check out our website, customcontainerbuilders.com. And on downtown, so like if I just kind of lump all of these together, just to give you an idea of inventory, currently there are 159 active listings and 130 of those are pending. Average sale price of $386,000. And in the last 7 days, 44 new listings and 29 of those are already pending.
Wow. So the
It's been
market is
insane.
really opening up. I mean,
It is.
Yes.
it's really different than it was 3 weeks ago. Okay. And
You know what's interesting about those numbers, though, as Justin was talking about them. So in Broad Ripple, there was 1. And
Yep.
in Bates Hendricks, there was 11. And Bates Hendricks is an exponentially smaller area. It just speaks to the trends that are going on with neighborhoods and within the loop, with the 465 loop, right?
Absolutely. A lot of inventory downtown.
Yep.
Wow. And then let's talk about what are you guys seeing right now on offers? What are people when you got buyers or you got people listing their home? Let's talk about the buyer side for a minute. You got somebody that's calling you up to buy a home. What do you tell them to be prepared for? To go 5%, 2%, X amount of dollars over the asking price if the house is ready and are there inspections? What are we doing?
So I think it comes down to generally, like Shelly said, I mean, you're looking generally 15% minimum probably to go over list. And then how much of it are you going to guarantee for an appraisal gap coverage? Doesn't necessarily have to be all of it, but most likely in this competitive market, it's got to be some. The one that I think we see the most confusion with is inspections, quite honestly. And like, how do you write an inspections? Personally, for me, we do an inspection on every house. Now, how we write it in there is totally different and dependent on the house. Sometimes we're only asking for no items that exceed individually $1,000. Sometimes it's cumulatively for like $1,500. Or a lot of times we do it for educational purposes only because there's a lot of confusions with as is, quite honestly.
Right. And that new document that they added in January, as is, most agents have said that that's not working and they don't really want to use it. So I see it a lot of times in the listings, do not use the as is addendum because what that says is if you are as a buyer are presenting that as an as is addendum, they say, I'm buying it as is. It truly is not an as is purchase. It's allowing you to inspect and get out of the deal if you didn't like what you saw. So an as is addendum is not a good thing to put in an offer, in my opinion.
It's a weaker offer, quite honestly, right?
Yeah.
It protect the other ways would actually protect the seller more. Now, if we're talking about representing the buyer, then as is more beneficial to the buyer, but it also weakens their offer.
It can make it so that you don't get to the top of the pile.
Mm-hmm.
Agree with that.
Okay, but let me ask you this. Person goes and buys a home. They waive all their options. They do.
Inspection, appraisal. all
Yeah, and
that.
then you ever see anybody says, I want to go ahead and throw my own inspection on there, but it's not going to stop me from buying the house. And they start seeing some things. What happens? That they look, seriously, I mean, what happens if you see somebody and they say, hey, this thing's got some mold in it. I didn't realize it had that. I mean, you guys have to run into something like this once in a while.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's like one of the reasons we put the guarantee on the inspections. If there is something that exceeds $1,000, that is something that the seller will have to address to get the deal to go through, or they risk losing the deal and they're going to have that happen on the next deal.
What it allows is to his point, is negotiation still to happen, right? Because you don't want to remove all of that, because at the end of the day, I've got somebody who wants to buy a house and I've got somebody who wants to sell a house. How do we do it under the most agreeable terms is what we're really trying to figure out. And when you take away that negotiation piece, right, which is why you would need a real estate agent, right, a professional to help represent you, it really puts you in some really gray areas.
Yep.
Because to flat out answer your question, I would say they need to seek legal advice.
Absolutely.
Well, here's the thing I've been seeing a lot of comments on too is buyers are moving into these houses. If they literally waive their inspections, which I would never do to my clients, I mean, we are going to inspect. If I get somebody who says they do not want to inspect, I have a long conversation with them about why that is a very bad idea. We can do, like you guys are saying, the floors on it, $1,000, $2,000 or whatever, but stay in the game and be able to negotiate with the seller. But these stories of buyers who have waived it and the agents are going, well, if that's what's going to take, we can get the offers, thank goodness, let's just go that route. They're moving in and 2 and 3 months later, they're coming and saying, now that I'm living here, there's some major issues with this house. These are major assets you're purchasing and spending a lot of money on. And to just
Absolutely.
throw away the fact of you looking into these houses, I don't
Just
agree.
to get something and then end up in a worse situation when
Right.
it wasn't inspected and you had no idea.
Right.
And I think one of the things that we really have to do well as professionals is make sure we're having the right conversations with our sellers as well, too, so they properly understand an inspection. And it's not this huge, scary thing where they're going to get hammered. And because a couple of years ago, the inspection was used as the negotiation piece to get price back down. That's just not the current market. The market has changed. But I think some of those stories still carry, and sellers can be afraid of an inspection when it's not necessarily a scary thing. It's so that it's good faith, right?
Absolutely.
Well, and I also tell all of my listings or sellers when I do get the listings ready to go is the best thing they can do is inspect the house themselves. It's $350 to
Absolutely.
$450 of a investment that they, we always say they don't get in the crawl space, they don't get in their attics, they just don't know. And we're telling our buyers with the new inspection just done, we have found issues that were already remedied by the seller, and then there's not going to be any, surprises if they try that.
So we're talking about the negotiation ends. How do we prepare people? What are mortgage rates right now? Because that's a huge talking point right now.
Well, you got your mortgage rates that have been increasing, but actually in the last couple of days, in the last few days, we've actually had a little bit of downswing on the mortgage rates. And I'm looking at the mortgage rate board, which is the Mortgage News Daily. And right now, your average on 30-year fix is 4.9%. Your 15's at 4.20%, and your FHA's at 4.44%, almost a half a point less than your 30-year fix, but also you're going to be paying MIP insurance. And your jumbos, I got to tell you something, jumbos are starting to get aggressive, but right now they're at 4.20%. But the biggest thing that's coming around the market when it comes to mortgage rates, you're going to see the 5-1 arms, the 7-1 arms, and you're going to see the 10-1 arms. Because if you got rates that are 4.9 and you can get yourself to a 4 or a 3.875 or a 4 1/4, you're going to take that lower payment because you're going to be guaranteed that rate for example, on a 7 arm that adjusts after 7 years, 84 months, and then adjust every 6 months. Mortgage people will give you those type of options to do, but just make sure when you're out looking for a mortgage, you're not paying a lot of points. Okay. Greg Evans will be on our show next week with PRMG Mortgage, and he will talk to you about paying points and not paying points. PRMG is a mortgage company out of California, which we have an office in Carmel, Indiana now, that does not charge points. Okay. And we can pay your closing costs on any purchase or refinance. So thank you, everybody on the show today. Kyle, if somebody wants to reach out to you and talk to you about one of your homes or list a home, how could they get a hold of you, please?
They can reach out to me. They can call or text 317-649-5122.
Shelly.
You guys can reach me on my cell phone, 317-201-2601.
And Justin Griffith with Keller Williams. He's on the show the first time, everybody.
Hey.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How can they get a hold of you, Justin?
Text or call 317-507-5599.
And Shelly?
Have a great day and a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Indianapolis Real Estate Market Weekly Podcast. If you are in the market to buy a home or sell your home in this crazy market, always use a professional realtor. Home buying is an important investment and complex process. Selling a home requires care and expertise. This podcast is sponsored this week by PRMG Mortgage in Indianapolis and Hamilton County, Indiana. Need a mortgage pre-approval or thinking about refinancing? Contact Greg Evans at PRMG 317-590-6546, NMLS number 138492.
Hello, my name's Tony Cardenas, and this is Carmel Social Media. Thank you for tuning into our podcast. And today, we're going to be talking about all the events that are coming up in the Carmel area